Conoce, educa. Aprender para actuar. Entre profes. Somos Educa Te Escucha.
It's an honor to introduce Stephen McCombe, a school leadership expert with over 30 years of experience working with educators worldwide. His commitment to innovation has impacted schools across diverse contexts. Today, he joins us to share his vision on the importance of innovation in education world. So, welcome to this channel, Educa Te Escucha. We are very pleased to have you here today.
Well, it's my honor to be with you here today.
Okay, so what strategies would you recommend for developing effective school leaderships in the face of today's challenges?
Yes, and there are a lot of challenges when we think about AI and things like that coming down the pike. It's going to change things. So good leadership, I think, in any situation is always a good thing. You show me a good school, I will show you a good leader, because it usually goes hand in hand. So strategies are, I think, first of all, the principal needs to be, or leader needs to be humble. They need to be humble enough to be able to know that they don't know everything, to admit that,
yes,
and to walk with their staff, not ahead of their staff, not above their staff, but to say, I'm humble enough to learn with you. Let's learn this together, because that sends a very important message about learning, not only their own learning, but the learning of the community. Because especially if you're in a school, you want to be a learning community where teachers and the principal, the leader, and the students are all learning. So that would be number one. I think lead by example. If I'm going to ask people to do something, I had better be willing to do that myself and walk along with them, again, not ahead of them. And then when it comes to a skill of working with my staff, I'm not going to tell them everything they need to do. Now, there are occasions when that's warranted. But if you look at top down, the leader telling the staff, or if you look at bottom up, or the teachers who rule the school, or if you look at those that are in the middle, that's usually the most successful place. So the principal or the leader can suggest an idea or strategy, but then want the staff to work along with them. So let's meet in the middle to be able to move the initiative forward. And I think that, if the principal, among other things, and the leader, if they can follow those ideas, I think that they'll be successful. Along with, I would just throw in a quick fourth would be strong emotional intelligence, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yes, I really like when you said that we need to accept that we can't know everything. I think that we are thinking that a leader is the one that knows everything and can do anything by himself, but we are humans. We can make mistakes,
Exactly.
And even though we can be good leaders and learn from each other at the same time, this is not an only way process.
Yes.
When we teach, we also learn.
That's right. There's a good article online. It's called the 5-Hour Rule. And it talks about the most successful people in the world leading 5 hours a week. So if I'm going to continue to lead and be respected for my leadership, I should also be respected for my knowledge. There will always be better teachers in the school than I was. But to be able to lead those teachers, I first of all have to recognize their importance and their value to the school. But I also need to show them that I am learning too. And that goes back again to the learning leader. So if I'm reading a variety of articles, I expand my horizons and I can have discussions with more people, relate to more people, students, parents, the teachers, and not to show them that, look, how smart I am, but that I value learning ongoing.
And speaking about expanding the horizons, what key learnings have you gained from your work with educational leaders in different countries?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I have had that opportunity to work in places where people have one of the poorest nations in the world, to working with private school leaders, and it's very expensive to send your child to that school. But it's interesting to know that our challenges are similar. Motivating teachers, motivating students, having a sense of balance when it comes to discipline and guiding people, knowing that there has to be a set of beliefs or standards that I have for myself that are non-negotiable. Now, that's not to say that I come across as a difficult person, but there are certain beliefs and or rocks that we used to say, which rock do you want to take your stand? And so the importance of children, number one, they are the reason that we exist as an organization. And when those leaders understand that, they become a lot better leader. So the challenges, I remember finishing a workshop one time and a gentleman came up to me. It was a group of Chinese principals, and he was able to speak English. Most of them weren't, but he was able to. And he said to me, I have teachers that just don't seem to be motivated anymore. And I thought, yeah, you see that in every school. Now, there's a variety of reasons for that. Sometimes life experience or difficulties in their own personal life, or teaching didn't appear to be what they thought it would be. And they have a little difficulty with motivation. But quite often when you can recapture that, you can help them to get back on the right path. Because I've never met a teacher that got up out of bed and said, I'm going to do the worst job I can do at school today.
Yes.
So the principal is the leader of the school, is works with those people and helps that person to know that they're valued. There's something called appreciative inquiry, where you look at the positives rather than the negatives. You see the glass half full rather than half empty. And when you are able to relate to people and show them they're important, thank them for when they do things, little things, it's amazing what can happen. Just a quick story maybe to illustrate the motivation of the teacher piece. In my last school as a leader, I noticed that the teachers seemed to be a little down. They didn't seem to be too happy. They did a good work with the children, but they just didn't seem really happy. So I watched each of them carefully, and I found something that each of them did that was good. And I wrote them a little note, put it in an envelope and put it in their mailbox, and didn't think too much more of it. A few days later, I went into a teacher's classroom and I was speaking to her, and she was sitting at her desk. And I just happened to glance over to the wall, and there she had taken the note that I gave her and she stuck it up on the wall. So you see, we need to recognize people, and teaching especially can be an exhausting job. So the leader needs to really work with the teachers, value them, get to know them, value their families, and a little bit. You don't need to get too personal, and some people perhaps don't like to let you know too much about themselves when it comes to family, but showing an interest in the person and interest that they're interested in, and striking up conversations rather than in the morning saying, hello, how are you? How was your weekend? And then just continue down the hall.
Yes.
Stop. How was your weekend? How are things? And taking that time to know, let that person know that you feel they're important, because they've got an important job, teaching children.
Yes, I visited a school that doesn't have a lot of money last year, and the principal told us that they don't have a lot of money, but they have a lot of enthusiasm. And I think that's very important, and it makes a difference because the school was complete.
Yes.
And not the best materials maybe.
Yes.
But it worked, and it was the only school in that town. So maybe we think that sometimes it's difficult or hard, but recognizing the good things that we make or the others make can make the difference in the way we feel about the situation, that it's hard, and how the kids see this situation too.
Exactly. That sounds to me like a principal that's in touch with their why. If Simon Sinek has done some research on that and has done some TED Talks and things. And basically what he says is, everybody knows what you do in education. Most people have gone to school, almost everybody. So they think they know exactly what's happening at school. They know how you do it. They said they've had great teachers and some maybe not so great, but those that start with why, that start with in their heart, valuing the children, knowing that they come to school every day, even though that there's many challenges, they're there to help those children. And no matter what those children present in the way of behavior, because they can misbehave, they know that in the long run, a person who cares and demonstrates love for those children, now that's different than a parent, I understand, but demonstrates a certain amount of concern and love for that child. And those children know that. It doesn't take them very long to figure that out. And the best example of that is when a supply teacher comes into the classroom. It
Yes.
takes about 30 seconds for those children to figure out what kind of a person they have in front of them that day and what they can get away with, right?
Yes.
Everybody's gone through that. So all I'm trying to say is that we need to value the children and be in touch with why we're doing what we're doing. And when a leader is in charge, like the gentleman or the lady that you suggested, that goes a long way, because it also contributes to something else. And it's not maybe something we think about an awful lot, but that's reputation. And sometimes I ask in workshops, I say to the educators, what do you want parents to say about you when you're sitting at a soccer match? They're sitting at the soccer match and they're chatting about the school, and they'll talk, or they meet each other in the marketplace. What do you want them to say about you? Because we need to focus on the fact that that reputation comes one interaction at a time. I cannot behave myself in such a way that it gives people a really negative impression, and then all of a sudden do something good and wow, that person's a great leader. No, that comes one interaction at a time. So it's the person that you described is someone who wears their love for kids on their sleeve, and they know that they're in charge of their why.
And finally, what e-learning? No, sorry.
That's okay.
What advice would you give to future educators to face the challenges of 21st century?
The 21st century. I heard a quote recently, and it said, the best predictor of human behavior is looking to the past. And, we do have those challenges. We've already discussed a little bit about AI coming down to people, and maybe sometimes there's a little bit of fear there. Will I have enough money to support my family? All of those challenges. And for some, it's a greater challenge than others. But I think to go back to reputation and having a solid belief system that I know what's best for children. I know what's best to try to lead this school forward. I know what's best for parents, but I'm also willing to listen to them. And I take the time to show that I care, because every society in the world has a set of principles, whether it's love your neighbor as yourself, whether it's First Nations people that talk about the grandfather teachings, that's in North America. They all have similar characteristics. And if we can concentrate on those things, any challenge that comes along, I think we'll be able to handle it. Because without character and without determination and that sense of we can do this, then we're doomed. But I don't think so. When I come to a conference like this in Peru, and I see, number one, the professionalism, the warm welcome that people give me is amazing. This is my first time in South America, and so I'm glad I chose Peru first.
Thank you.
But just when they have that type of attitude and when they have that sense of optimism, and there are over 700 people here at this conference, educators, and that speaks volumes to me, because they are willing to improve their practice. And that bodes well for children, because they believe that they can make a difference in the lives of children.
Yes.
If I walked into that auditorium and there were 50 people sitting there, and I knew there could have been a lot more, but no, there's a lot of people there trying to improve their own practice for children. And a society that does that is going to do all right in the future.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge with us.
Well, it's my pleasure. Yeah, thank you very much.
Y esto fue Educa Te Escucha. Si deseas seguir al tanto de nuestras próximas entrevistas, no dudes en suscribirte, activar la campanita de notificaciones y visitar nuestra cuenta de Instagram, donde encontrarás más contenido de Educa Te Escucha.